Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I'm reviewing an ink from Dieman's ink. It's from the Tasmania series. It's this Snowy Mountain Sunset. This is a really unique ink. It's one of their shimmering inks, as you can very clearly see there. From the Tasmania set, one of the inclusions in the set, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. And I'm going to show it on some different kinds of paper, show some tests on it, and give you my thoughts. So this is the way the ink comes packaged. Recently, Dieman's ink repackaged or redesigned the packaging of their inks, and I think this is great. Really simple glass bottle with a little label on it. You can see that is the sort of the standard color of the ink. And it just gets Snowy Mountain Sunset 30 mils shimmering ink there, the little Tasmanian devil on the label. It's good. So we're going to start with the ink here on Tomo River, and it's pretty shimmery, and that light is picking that up a lot. I had it in two pens, a TWSBI Go Extra Fine and a TWSBI Go Broad. You can see here on the swab there, it's just glowing with that shimmer. It's beautiful. Okay, let's talk about the 5 points. As I said, it's from the Tasmania series. Now, the Tasmania series is the set of inks, if you will, the lineup of inks that launched Dieman's ink, and they, in 2021, 2022, re-released those inks with sort of like new formulations and improved all that kind of stuff. And then they added 4 shimmering inks, and this is one of those. So this is Snowy Mountain Sunset. The second one here, point I've put here is named, I thought, Snowy Mount Snowy in southwestern Tasmania in the Hearts mountain range, but the website suggests this ink is just sort of named after or designed to emulate the look of the sun and the glimmering shimmer of the snow on the many snow-capped mountain peaks that we have in Tasmania, things like Crater Mountain, Mount Wellington, and Ben Lomond in the north, and so you can sort of see that sort of the blue of the sun and the sky, and the sort of pink of the sunset with the shimmer of the beautiful snow there. I said it's a complex color, and as I said, there's a lot going on there. I'll show you that coloring card again, and there's a lot of this blue or green has come up in this version. You can see the mauve behind it, and then that shimmer on the top. As I said, it is a shimmer ink, which brings with it a range of its own challenges, which I'll cover in just a little bit. But, any ink that has particles in it just needs to take a little bit more care. And the last one here is made in Tasmania, Tasmania being the island state at the bottom of Australia. And more specifically, these inks being made in Launceston, which is the city, the main city in the north of the state. Let's talk about the performance of this ink. I've said it prefers broader nibs, and broader and wetter nibs, really. The extra fine here, the flow is a little less easy, shall we say. It's got a nice mauve, hits of blue, and a dusky pink shimmer according to the website, and it's very gold pinky, kind of almost like a rose goldy kind of shimmer. It's actually a beautiful effect. And here's, I say, cleaning. So obviously, this ink has particles in it. If we look at the bottom of the bottle, you can see those particles have settled in the bottom of the bottle. And if we look here at the TWSBI Go that I have it in, you can see the particles and all through the feed there, and even down here into the main part of the feed. So that takes a little bit more cleaning. So when I don't tend to leave shimmering inks in pens very long. Now, obviously, they will move with water and with decent cleaning, and you can do things like clean the feed with a soft toothbrush and those kinds of things, being careful of the fins. But if you are using pens like power fillers or vac fillers that are harder to clean, I suggest that you avoid shimmering inks for those pens, just because the cleaning of it is a little bit more tricky. Okay, I've put here medium flow, safe for fountain pens, medium dry time. So after 2 seconds, it was very wet, very little actually held on. After 20 seconds, we get a good little bit, hanging around, but still a lot of sort of wet on the top of the ink. Low page contrast. So just in that perspective, these shimmering inks, if I lay this flat, you can see when the light hits it, you can almost not make out what is written there. and in its lighter shading, it is very light. So the contrast is not particularly strong. I put fair concentrations and saturation. There's enough there. It's just a very light sort of color. That underlying mauve is very light. Extras. There's some shading. Yep. Sheen. Look, is that blue sheen? Is the, like, it's kind of hard to tell because that shimmer is just so strong. High shimmer and mid-low water resistance. Now, I would say it's actually slightly higher than mid to low, but it's kind of hard to express because you lose a lot of the top of the color. You keep some of the shimmer, you keep some of that pink, but you lose essentially what is this blue. And if you look here where I moved around with the water brush pen, the blue has spread and the pink has stayed. So there is a sort of a bit of a, there is something left behind. You're just losing the sort of the core of the color. Here I have it on some really, inexpensive student notepad paper. The shimmer shows up nicely. Some of that blue really comes through nicely. And it's okay. It holds together fairly well. There's not a huge amount of feathering and the bleed is not too bad. The blue bleeds through. The blue is really what spreads in this ink. And you can see that there. Now on the Reflex copy paper, this is 80 GSM printer paper. The shimmer, very, very present again. More purpley mauve. It holds together well enough, and if you look at the reverse once again, it's that bluey green that really comes through. So now we have it here on Rhodia, and this is where I've done, both the swatch again. Lovely, lovely shimmer. Great, like, halo of blue around there. It's beautiful. The lines look really good. The shimmer looks nice. And here where I've done the extra water test, where that's where I put water down and just let it dry. You can see the shimmer just sits there and rock solid. And when the ink moves around, we get the blue halo and a nice sort of pink sort of wash of that ink there. Looking at the reverse of this page, we see not a lot really comes through. It's a fairly well-behaved ink. In terms of these Van Diemen's inks, I think it's fairly middle of the line. I think it's interesting that the colour splits, as we saw on some of that lower-end paper with the feathering. It's an interesting ink. It's got some really interesting properties. Those interesting properties also visible here in the chromatography. This didn't change after about 3 seconds. So I put it down, it sort of spread out, and then it didn't change after I put, I let it soak up water. So we get a line of the shimmer there, and then there's pink, and then greens, and then the lovely blue. And we see that in all of these examples where water has been on it, or even in the shading and shimmer of this ink. It's very nice. So I have this card here. Now, I tried to do a color comparison of this, but I really found it very tricky because this is the swatch on Tomoe River. This is the swatch on a coloring card. Same ink, swatches done basically within days of each other. From the same bottle of ink, this one using a cotton swab, this one using a knife, but still, they look completely different. So what we get here is, because this has got, we get a lot of the pink coming through here, whereas this, we just get that sort of blanket blue-green, and then the shimmer, of course. And we can see the pink through it. It's a beautiful pink, but so much green there. While we're talking about this sort of color match, this is the swatch I did when I did the initial sort of overview of the ink line. And you can see, once again, these were done on the same day. So it performs differently no matter where you look at it, but sort of that pink is sort of like the underlying color there. And so what I've just kind of decided to do is bring up a pink, Australian Opal Pink by Robert Oster, that has a really lovely sort of blue colour coming through it. Now, if we look at, once again, I'll bring up this swatch here, the similar sort of dusty pinks that we get, the mauve almost sort of colour of those two. And then what I did just for the fun of it was I got Sailor Manuhaha. Now, this one is interesting. There's a range of these Sailor inks that have these multicolour properties. And Manuhaha sort of has a pink that runs through it and bits of sort of, green under the blue. But nothing quite, in my collection, nothing matches this. I don't have a whole lot of shimmer inks. But even just taking out that shimmer, mixes of the pinks and the blues and the greens, it's a really beautifully complex colour. So let's talk about the price now. When I did the overview of Van Diemen's inks a little while ago, I mentioned the fact that the 30ml bottle is $14 Australian, and it's also $14.95 Australian, so almost $15. And the same bottle through US retailers is also $14.95. So they're obviously sort of doing, a good sort of deal with people to get good prices, but that is sort of what you can expect for this ink. So I've given this a 4 out of 5. As I said, in a broader nib, it shines. We get great depth of color, we get shading, we get beautiful shimmer. It's beautiful. It's a nice color, as I said. Like looking at this coloring card, it's a complex color. It's pink, it's green, it's blue, it's shimmering. It's really very nice. And it has a beautiful effect of that shading and the tone and the shimmer, which makes this a beautifully unique ink. And if you are into shimmer inks, if they're your thing, this is an interesting one to look at. So I hope you found this video about Van Diemen's ink Snowy Mountain Sunset to be interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce, and please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me, or you can contact me on any of my videos here or drop me an email, which is listed down below. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there is a way you would like to support this channel by sponsoring a review or providing an item for review, I would love to hear from you. In the meantime, enjoy your inks, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.